Coming to you from the dining room table at East Barbary Lane, welcome to another special episode of Full Circle, the podcast. I am your host, Charles Tyson Jr. Martha has fallen ill with a disease that fabulous people get, apparently, so she will not be joining us today, unfortunately, but she sends her love. Today, I am thrilled to be sitting with our guest. He is a professor of media and cinema, and he is a dancer and a choreographer and an all-around fierce diva. And he has written a fabulous book, and I'm not saying it's fabulous just because I'm in it. It is about Black fandom, and it is called Fandom For Us, By Us, The Pleasures and Practices of Black Audiences. Alfred L. Martin is in the house. Hello, sir. How are you?
Thank you so much. Thank you. I am well. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's a pleasure, and I've been wanting to have you on here low-key for a minute, and, you know, no better time than when you have a book that I'm in. So.
Exactly, when I've got something to shill.
So my first question that I wanted to ask you is, what made you want to study, media and cinema?
So on the one hand, I was a kid who just consumed so much television, and there are these or television and media broadly, and there are just these moments that are etched on my brain from television that are so important. So this morning, interestingly, I was thinking about a 1985 performance that I saw where Patti LaBelle and Cyndi Lauper sang a duet of Time After Time.
Ooh.
And how sort of I remembered that, or how I remember the Bill Cosby salutes Alvin Ailey special that happened in the early 90s, right before Alvin Ailey passed away. And I remember like these obscure television shows like Small Wonder
Small Wonder,
and the ever fabulous It's a Living.
Yes.
Media was really omnipresent for me as a child, and as a Gen Xer. We know that we generally, like Gen Xers, like TV and ourselves raised us.
Word.
And so, there was a part where I just had a kind of love of television. But the other part of it was that once I got to graduate school and actually figured out what graduate school was, and that graduate school was a thing, I wanted to study media because I wanted to understand, at least initially, I wanted to really understand how representation worked historically. I've moved away from those kinds of questions because I think that they're wonky, and we can talk about that later. But that is sort of how I started.
I love it. Yeah, same. TV raised me by a large part. And I found myself becoming more and more fascinated with representation of various communities in movies and TV. And it wasn't until we met through, I believe, Dr. Bambi Haggins, right?
Yes.
Who I discovered. She was one of the talking heads in the Moms Mabley documentary. And I saw on her little, what's that called at the bottom with your name on it?
The crayon thing, whatever we call it, yeah.
And it said that she was a professor of like media studies and culture or something like that. And I was like, you can do that. That's a thing.
Uh-huh. And,
And
and listen, this was a very similar response that I had when I entered the industry.
and I messaged her on Facebook and I was like, I just wanted to say, oh my God, I am so glad to see that there is someone out there who's doing the thing that I didn't think you could do and you're doing it fabulously. And that's all. I just want to say hi. I'm not creepy. Hi. And then we became friends on Facebook. And then that's how I discovered you.
Hmm.
And then we just hit it off, child.
Yeah, and then it was off to the races.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have written a wonderful book. It's which I read pretty quickly, and it once again is called "Fandom For Us by Us: The Pleasures and Practices of Black Audiences," and it is about Black fandom. But let me not tell you about your book. Tell us about this book and why you wrote it.
So the why that I wrote it was because so I'm gonna start with a story that has nothing to do with writing
Go.
in some ways, but I am one of those folks who I was raised in Detroit, and I was raised by parents who, for good or for ill, very much believed in assimilation, very much believed in a politics of respectability.
Mm,
And and so I think as a result, I probably had a somewhat delayed engagement with my own blackness. And part
okay.
of what I say is that about race generally, but specifically about blackness, is that blackness is both a race and it is also an ideology.
Yes.
And there is a way that I felt like I understood my blackness as race, but I didn't necessarily understand blackness as an identity.
Mm,
And as I moved into the field broadly known as media studies, it coincided, I think, with my own identity development as a Black person.
mm-hmm.
And it also didn't help slash hurt that, I was doing this work like as the world was beginning to be on fire.
Mm.
And so there was a way that I spent a lot of early time in, or my early time in media studies, sort of pointing out the injustices, if you will, of the scholarly endeavor and the ways that Blackness was always sidelined or was configured as something that was abnormal.
Mm, mm-hmm.
And
Or aside from
yeah,
the
yeah, or like,
norm.
and
Yeah.
and so like one of the stories that I have that I think I may have taken it out of the introduction, is, and I've kind of sort of been wanting to write about or write this story somewhere, and I just haven't found the right place to put it. But I had someone who was on my dissertation committee, and in my dissertation, which is also my first, or which a version of that is my first book, I have a chapter where I interview Black gay men
Mm-hmm.
about the meaning that they make from Black cast sitcoms and their representations of Black queer characters. And
Why didn't we know each other
the
then?
right, and the suggestion by one of these white folks was that I should have some sort of control group so that we knew what Black people were doing was either different, similar, or whatever. And my response was, I don't actually care if it's
Right.
different. I just care that it is.
Control
And I
group.
care that it is work that has not been done, and I choose to engage in doing that work.
Period.
And so that is in some ways the kind of energy that came into this book,
Mm-hmm.
where I wanted to, on the one hand, not bemoan the ways that whiteness ignores, white scholarship ignores Black practices
Mm-hmm.
and attempts to center their practices as universal
Mm-hmm.
and as central. And I wanted to engage a project that, on the one hand, named Blackness, but also suggested that Blackness was the center.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and to ignore whiteness in the same ways that whiteness ignores us,
Right.
and to say, or to ask the rhetorical question, what would it mean if we actually theorized first about Blackness and Black audience practices, and then we map y'all white people onto this shit?
Mm-hmm.
Wait,
Mm-hmm.
can I cuss on here?
Oh, fuck yes.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so that was generally sort of how I came to the project, and then how I came to the objects that I wanted to study, and those objects are Misty Copeland, the ballerina Misty Copeland.
Yes.
And I wanted to study her fandom because I wanted to try to understand through other people my own ambivalence about Copeland.
Okay.
And I wanted to understand what it was about her that had captured the sort of Black American imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And then I chose Black Panther because it was the first time that I was at least paying attention to like Black people losing their minds over like we need to go and see like a particular movie that's coming out.
And we
And
kind of
so I
did.
was yeah, and so I was really interested in like what is that all about?
Mm-hmm.
And then I wanted to use The Wiz because I just love that movie. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, and I believe that it deserves much more scholarly attention than it gets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to partly think about The Wiz and think about the ways that white culture has written that film off as either a failure or like this camp slash cult classic,
Hmm.
and the ways that in order for it to be a cult classic for Black folks, we actually have to understand it as a failure, and we don't understand it as a failure.
Right.
And so I wanted to see what would happen in talking to Black folks about that film. And then the last object that I look at is the series The Golden Girls, and that is the chapter that you are in,
Yes, Lord.
because I wanted to find out what Black folks were doing with media when we were not present. So when we
Mm.
couldn't talk about, or when we necessarily could not talk about representation, what was left in its place.
Okay. And it was fascinating because those are four subjects that, like, other than the fact that they center around Blackness, don't really, or in the case of Golden Girls, don't really go together at all.
Mhm, mhm,
And so let's start with Misty Copeland. So
mhm.
for each of these sections in anticipation of today, I did a little bit of a rewatching or deep dive just to have things on top of mind. And I was looking at Misty. And, I never really, like, when she was, like, basically named the It Girl, I wasn't really paying attention because, I mean, for no other reason than just like me in classical ballet, like I have an appreciation, but I'm not going to say I'm a fan that I follow it
Hmm.
so much. But it was fierce that,
Hmm.
you know, this black woman is like considered the it girl. I do like that you made the distinction that, you know, being a principal doesn't mean you the head of the company. Like that's not how that
Hmm.
works. But that's what
Hmm.
everyone. Oh, she running ABT. No, that's no, no.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's something, and part of what I think is really fascinating about for me, and was fascinating for me as a researcher for this chapter, was sort of like there's a way that we want to partly dismiss in some ways the the people who don't know ballet, and the
Right.
people who would say that, Misty Copeland is, is the head of American Ballet Theater, and it's like she's not.
But as far as they're concerned,
But
you.
what does it mean that you think that?
Right. Right.
And so and so that was kind of what I was interested in. So it was less about, highlighting the idea that like black people don't, as a general rule, don't know, a tendu from tinfoil. But it is more that they actually are bringing their blackness to this blindingly white art form,
Mm-hmm.
and are sort of doing it around this idea broadly construed of representation and representation mattering, and using their dollars to say like representation matters. And if we see, or if we go to American Ballet Theater and pay to see Misty Copeland do, Manon,
Mm-hmm.
then ABT will feel more compelled to hire more black dancers, and then those black dancers can work their way up through the ranks.
Right.
And of course, we've not necessarily seen that happen. And in fact, one of ABT's black corps de ballet dancers pieced out and went to another company. I think she might have gone to Royal Winnipeg, but I don't remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which ain't no, you know, ain't no
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah, I mean, and
Yeah.
listen, and kudos to her because she got out of this country too. So if she actually went to Royal Winnipeg.
Right. But yeah, I did find that interesting that, and you mentioned this in the book, how, you know, people felt that her being a principal in ABT was like a pinnacle, you know,
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
no one's falling all over themselves about, you know, the principals in Ailey or DTH.
Yeah.
And it's
Or
like,
or
well,
hell, even like the black women who are in San Francisco Ballet or Boston
right,
Ballet.
right,
Nobody cared about Michaela DePrince
right.
necessarily.
And why is that, you know?
Hmm.
Um, I just found that interesting. It's like because um, she gained, I guess, the top of white acceptance,
Hmm.
then
Hmm.
that's, you know, currency or something. I don't.
Yeah, and there's something specific about the nomenclature
Hmm.
of American
Right,
ballet theater,
right,
because my interview, or many of the interviewees, thought or sort of constructed American ballet theater to mean like the Ballet Company of America. And to be
right.
sure, Obama actually designated the company as America's Ballet Company, as like,
Ah, that's
so
right. Yeah, yeah.
it doesn't emerge from nowhere. At the same time, they then construct, for example, Dance Theater of Harlem, even, or Boston Ballet or New York City Ballet. Those companies are understood as, in some ways, being local,
Right. Yeah, yeah.
whereas American Ballet Theater is like the company for America.
Right.
And it's like, even as I would rather see New York City Ballet than American Ballet Theater, because I think it's actually a better company, it has a better rep.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like, but again, it's about sort of what Misty Copeland as a Black woman,
Mm-hmm.
being the first Black woman to be promoted to the rank of principal dancer at American Ballet Theater,
Mm-hmm.
means something different than Misty Copeland, the first woman to be promoted to the rank of principal dancer at Boston Ballet.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think of Boston Ballet, and I'm like, well, that's fierce. The distinction in my mind is very much like the the Rue girls versus like the quote unquote local girls.
Exactly. Exactly. It's very much that. And so it's not even that. I mean, but listen, it's also the distinction between, like, we fundamentally believe that Harvard and Yale and Princeton and those sort of Ivy League institutions, we somehow believe that they're doing some sort of different kind of education than what's happening at the University of Miami where I teach, and that's just simply not true.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's really, it's really about sort of brands and the ways that brands have particular kinds of currency in marketplaces.
Mm-hmm.
And American Ballet Theater, for Black Misty Copeland fans, had or imbued ABT with a particular kind of capital.
Right. And at the same time, it's cute. If it gets more money, if it gets more attention and focus on the arts,
Hmm.
never mind. I started to say maybe then we'll get more funding in the arts, and I realized the folly of my statement and I stopped myself. So
I mean, but listen, at the same time, here's what I will also say. So, because Misty Copeland chose the more difficult road.
hmm. True.
And she chose it because she understood that if she could be successful on this difficult road, she understood that she could actually really, really cash in a capitalist sense.
And she did.
And Misty Copeland has cashed in a capitalist sense.
Hmm.
She is, I believe, listen, actually, I'm gonna just say this with my whole chest because I can't imagine that it's untrue. She's the only ballet dancer, past, present, and probably future, who's had her house in Architectural Digest.
Oh, okay.
She is, while certainly a number of dancers like Barishnikov and the Cynthia Gregory had those Rolex ads in the 1980s, but Copeland was doing, Under Armour. She
Yep.
had a deal with Buick for a bit.
Hmm.
And so it is just a kind of, listen, we can argue about whether or not we think that Misty Copeland is a good or great ballerina. We can argue about that till the cows come home. I think what we cannot argue about is that what we watched in Misty Copeland's career was a Black woman fight for her place in a traditionally white company.
Hmm.
And once she made it to the pinnacle of that company,
Hmm.
she cashed in like nobody else in that company has ever cashed in.
It's true.
And that's
And
and that is one of the reasons that while I don't necessarily love her as a dancer, I have an extraordinary amount of respect for her.
yeah, again, like I said, I didn't really follow her that much other than peripherally. But
Mhm.
in, preparation for today, I did go look at some videos and I'm like, oh, like there were a couple of moments like she did this like Batma Fouette series and like the leg hit the top and then you see the engagement like I'm gonna hold it for a nanosecond before I let it go. Like little things like that. I was like, okay, I see
Mhm.
you. I see you.
Yeah, yeah. She is so the moment when I think she was at her best for me, I saw American Ballet Theater du Manon, Sir Kenneth Macmillan's Manon. and she was gorgeous in it. But she
Mm-hmm.
was also, I would argue, she was gorgeous in it because it is not a classical ballet in the sense of, three acts where it ends with a grand pas de deux, where the ballerina has to do a variation and 32 fouettes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was not that ballet, and I think it required her to do more acting.
Okay.
And she was really good at it in it. And it is also, I think, why she's doing one of the things she's doing for her retirement performance is the balcony pas de deux from Romeo and Juliet,
Mm,
by Sir Kenneth Macmillan, and she will be gorgeous in it. She will be just like breathtakingly spectacular in it.
I'm sure. And then there's little things like I was watching, what's the joint, where like it's a pas de deux and she does the fouettes and then he does the turns a la seconde, like the dun,
Are you talking
dun,
about
dun, 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 dun. Yeah,
that's
Swan Lake.
the Swan Lake. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah,
And I'm watching and I'm like, she traveling.
yeah, yeah.
And then I'm not hating because I can't do no damn 32 fouettes anyway, and I've seen a lot
Yeah.
of people do them, but I don't know.
And listen. This is. I understand why Misty Copeland fought it out in ABT.
Hmm.
But I think she would have had a better career or I'm sorry, I won't say a better career. What I will say is I think she might have actually had a more artistically fulfilling career in a different company.
Probably because I find contemporary ballet to be like where my heart is now anyway. Like
Yeah,
Ballet
yeah,
X in Philadelphia, like
yeah.
I love them, love them, love them. But I do love seeing a dancer get so much attention.
hmm hmm
My first example of that as a kid was Suzanne Farrell.
Oh yeah, I love Suzanne.
Yes, and she was doing like a Yo Play commercial or something,
Hmm
and I was like, oh, like, and that was my introduction to her, and that she was a ballet dancer, and it was like, oh, okay, and my naive self was like, okay, so ballet dancers get to do commercials and things like that. Like, I didn't realize that how
Right.
special that was.
Yeah.
So I love that, we're continuing that trajectory. And again, you have Baryshnikov, who, like, there's a generation of people that don't even know he was a dancer. That's how famous he was. They know him as an actor. He was on
Yeah.
Sex and the City, and he was, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? And I love that. I love that for her.
Yeah.
And hopefully that's something that we will continue to see, you know?
Yeah. I'm gonna be curious to see what Misty Copeland, like what she is doing in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, I do love that she's done like so much advocacy work around Black folks in ballet and
Mm-hmm.
trying to she seemingly from her Instagram feed, she seemed to sort of like take the Black kids from ABT and the Black
Mm-hmm.
ballet dancers generally and kind of mother them as the sort of the elder states lady.
Yeah. Like I saw a clip of her, like she's in that masterclass series, and
Hmm
like I saw a clip of her like teaching how to do a proper tendu, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And it's
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where like I trust her. I trust her knowledge. And plus, she's obviously doing it right.
Yeah, right, right.
So I appreciate that. So the next chapter of the book, we talk about Black Panther. And you mentioned before about Black folks collectively losing our minds with this movie. And Uh-huh. I ain't never seen folks decide what they wanted to wear to go see a movie before.
Hmm.
And it was like
Hmm.
drum and dance circles and like white
Yeah.
folks hated to see us coming, child.
Listen, but they love to see our coin coming.
I know that's right. And I loved it. I'm like, yeah, wear your shit. Come in like the
Hmm.
opening credits of Coming to America. Do it. Do it, I
Yeah,
say.
exactly. So I didn't quite say it this way, so I'll say it and then I'll transition. But in the chapter on Misty Copeland, I really wanted to focus on the way that fans were making that distinction
Mm-hmm.
between like say Dance Theater of Harlem and American Ballet Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And so I organized that chapter around class and sort of thinking about class as both a socioeconomic
Yes.
way of thinking about class, but also class as a way of thinking about the sort of different classes of things and the ways that we put things in a hierarchical order.
Mm-hmm.
In this way, DTH below American Ballet Theater.
Right.
And so when I was talking to folks about Black Panther, one of the things that emerged was the concept that I called clout.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really about, on the one hand, the way that Black folks, like we showed up and we showed out for Black
Yes,
Panther.
Lord. Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there was this undercurrent that we were absolutely doing it for the joy of it, but we were also doing it because we wanted to show Hollywood that we were a viable consumer segment. Because again, and this kind of sort of jumps the gun of sorts, but the discourse around the Wiz in 1978
Mm-hmm.
was essentially that if we as Black people didn't go and see that movie
They'll
because
never let black
it was
folks.
so expensive
Mm-hmm.
for the time
Yeah.
that we'd never see another one.
Mm-hmm.
And in the grand, 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 grand scheme of things, even as we showed up
Mm-hmm.
for The Wiz,
Mm-hmm.
the fact is that it did not recoup its production budget, and we did not see a film of the size and scope of The Wiz for 40 exactly or almost exactly 40 years.
It's true.
So The Wiz happens in 1978.
Mm-hmm.
Black Panther happens in 2018.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yeah.
so there was that similar kind of discourse that came to the fore where we needed to show Hollywood. And so that is, in some ways, that is what that chapter is about. It is about the ways that pleasure intersects with a kind of consumer activism.
Mm-hmm. And I love that, it's a Marvel movie. So, you have a certain segment of fanboys that are built in. Of course, don't get me started talking about fanboys because, child,
Hmm.
whew,
Child, indeed.
Lord have mercy. I'm like, y'all make me hate the thing that I like. Like,
Hmm.
I hate people that like things. That's what this has come down
Yes.
to.
I
But,
mean, listen, at the risk of getting canceled, like I hate Beyonce's fans. Like I think Beyonce is perfectly fine, and I like a lot of her music.
hmm
But her fans, like, I want to see a Beyonce concert so badly. I just don't want to be in the stadium with her fans.
yeah, that. Yeah,
Yeah,
that. Maybe knock over the background. I agree so hard.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That's a book unto itself, I think.
Yeah,
Beyonce's fans versus like Nicki
I
Minaj's
almost
fans.
decided to go into the Beehive for this book, but I was like, I
You
don't think
might
I
not get
have
back
the,
out.
I was like, I don't think I have the mental acuity to do that.
Ciao, 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 ciao. But yeah, like Black Panther, I was so excited. Well, I was excited to see it anyway because I love the character of Black Panther. Like in every iteration that I had seen up to that point, like BET had a very short-lived Black Panther animated series that I
Hmm.
loved, and
Hmm.
my favorite clip was like, oh damn, I forget. It was like some like regal rich white person came to Wakanda and brought T'Challa something, and he was like, "I don't need a gift from you. What makes you think you have anything I want? In fact, who even said that you could talk to me?" I'm like, "You better read. This is what I
Yeah,
like."
exactly. And actually, I don't know if you know this, but an online creator named Ace Vane actually has some videos where he does a sort of uh, re a voiceover that's a sort of ratchet voiceover of those cartoons. They're fantastic.
I love it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And so I was excited to see Black Panther get the MCU treatment. I'm salivating like his first appearance in Civil War. I was like, there he is. He's doing things. Look at him. And I saw that Ryan Coogler was directing. And so I immediately was like, okay, the film is going to be in good hands. It's going to be black as hell. I love that they were giving him like Marvel money to do anything. And Martha and I went and saw it in the theater. And I, picked our seats. I'm like, we're going to be over on the side because I don't want to be in the midst of nobody. I want to just be us in this film. That didn't work out the way I wanted, but that's another story. But I remember just thinking, like at one point I was just in tears. Like the first challenge scene, when all the different tribes are like on that tower, and like you see all the different representations of all the different garb, and I was just crying because I'm like, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. They're doing, look, oh, they have I was all over myself. So I love that film, and thank God it was good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was one of the sighs of relief of many of us.
Yes.
We're like, they spent all this money. Now can it please be good?
Thank you. Because, folks will not be able to wait to say something ain't good, especially if it's
That
black.
part.
So I'm definitely part of that fandom. It's one of the few Marvel movies that I've seen more than twice,
Oh, okay. Okay.
you
I
know?
mean, it's technically, I think it is the only Marvel movie I've seen, period.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm not a comic book gay. I'm more of a sitcom with divas gay.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair. Yeah, I'm definitely a comic book head. I'm a Marvel head, always have
Okay.
been. So like I will go to see not all of them. There's some I'm like, yeah, that can miss me. But Black Panther I was definitely there for. So yeah, I'm definitely in that fandom. You could have contacted me for that chapter of the book. Now, getting into the Wiz, here's where my views might be a little controversial with you and many black folk. I love The Wiz. I'm gonna start with that. I love The Wiz. I think it is a beautiful film. But I don't think that it is a good film. Like as a movie, like to sit and watch from beginning to end. I do not think that it is good. But I love it. And like I think I feel the same way about The Wiz that I do about West Side Story, the original West Side Story. It was made for the age of DVD and Blu-ray. Just skip to the parts you like. So you don't have to watch all that bullshit in between. Cause like Nipsey Russell, what would I do if I could feel? Like,
Oh,
first of
so
all,
good.
it is. And I watched the clip this morning, and like the nuance of like his face being expressionless, but yet emoting at the same time, you
I mean,
know?
and that he can do all of that. Like, and I say this with all of the respect in the world for Nipsey Russell.
Hmm.
He has one note in his vocal register,
Correct.
and he can do all of that
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
one note.
He really did. And, my experience with The Wiz, I've never seen the show.
Hmm.
Well, not counting the Wiz Live, which I suspect you had feelings about because you never said what those feelings were, but I could tell what those feelings were in the book.
Oh,
Or I
did
could
I?
tell that they were
Oh, wait, I
there.
didn't even know I mentioned it in there. Did I mention it in there?
You briefly,
Oh, okay.
you like as an aside, like, and this also exists.
I mean, listen, it does exist. Listen, as does this revival also exists.
Yeah, which I've heard very mixed things about. Again, I don't know the show, but in the Wiz Live, that was the only time I ever heard that song sung, as opposed
Mm-hmm.
to like the way Nipsey Russell did it. I like Nipsey's version better.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
you feel things more. It's like, okay, yeah, he didn't sing down, but he put the emotion of the song in that. Plus, I love like the backup singers that are part of the
Yeah.
decoration and
Yeah.
like they come to life and do what? I love that.
Yeah. But I mean, listen, it's in some ways, it's the difference between, if we think about seeing Jennifer Hudson sing And I Am Telling You from Dreamgirls,
Mm-hmm.
it's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see Jennifer Holliday sing it,
Ciao.
and you're like, this is really good. And
Uh-huh.
I felt this in my soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's in some ways that's the difference.
Mm-hmm.
That's the difference here. So they're both like, so yeah, it was Neo, right? Yeah, Neo was good.
Mm.
I think it was Neo as the Tin Man.
Yes.
Um, yeah, the guy who, and I don't remember his name, who was in the Broadway iteration of this current revival of The Wiz. He was good.
Okay.
Just nobody can nobody yet has captured that affective feel
Right.
that song has.
Right. They're just,
It's also in a different space in the movie
okay.
than it is in the show. So it actually doesn't. It happens in Act Two when they're already in the Emerald City, and he's in the play slash Broadway version. He's sort of imagining like if the Wiz gives me this heart, what would I do?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, versus like a sort of expository kind of story,
Right. Right.
as it is in on Coney Island.
Which, yeah, I love it. And like I said, I don't like sitting and watching the movie, but again, I love the movie because there's so many wonderful things, and that I realize that the film is kind of like etched into my DNA. Like,
Hmm.
don't let Martha make anything with tahini. Because what am I going to do?
Tahini,
Tahini, tahini,
tahini.
every single time.
Yeah, 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 and I think that what you're hitting on too, though, is one of the things and one of the reasons that I wanted to write about the Wiz, and the reason that I write about it as a part of Black canon or
Hmm.
Black canonicity is because I'm not sure that most Black folks who see The Wiz are like, oh my God, you know what? Like, The Wiz is the best made Black film ever.
Okay.
But The Wiz is not about its aesthetics. It's actually about it is about the way that it has tapped into, and I think continues to tap into, what I call in the book Black feeling.
Hmm. Hmm.
The
Hmm.
idea that it just makes us feel something. And and part of it, I think, and while I while I think that The Wiz being rated G when it was initially released, while I think that that was a terrible decision that Universal probably should have tried to appeal
Should have
and
been
to get it
PG.
as a PG.
Hmm.
But I think that its genius also simultaneously made, and I did not write about this in the book, and now I need to write about it. But it made I would argue the film automatically feel like an intergenerational film. So in other
Mm.
words, like kids were going to see it with parents and grandparents. And so there's a way that I think part of what is etched into the DNA of that film is that we are also simultaneously like mapping those or remapping those relationships back into the movie.
Hmm.
So part of why we love The Wiz is because it's like, oh yeah, I used to watch The Wiz with my grandma, or my grandma
Hmm.
took me to see it, or
Hmm.
as I talk about in the book, my friend Corey talked about how he always watched that movie with his Uncle Raymond.
Hmm.
And so there's a way that I think The Wiz, the certainly the afterlife of The Wiz gets so interconnected with all of these other memories. So in some ways, our love of The Wiz may not even be about The Wiz. It may just be about the ways that we attach someone we love to The Wiz.
Okay. Okay. I mean, not for me, but okay. Because
Mhm.
everyone that I, know that has seen the movie, we all have the same thing. Like we have those cultural moments that we love and those
Hmm.
set pieces that we love. But as a film, meh. And then as I've grown, I realize I think that blame lies with Sidney Lumet
Hmm.
because I ain't like nothing else he did either.
Okay.
So I'm like, that's a director thing because it's not like I said, it's a fabulous looking movie.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
the subway scene, however, still to this day, like I just watched it this morning. And I was like, damn, this is
I mean,
creepy.
listen, also, particularly for a G-rated movie.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Which I don't even think I knew that it was G rated, or at least at the time when G ratings were a thing that were in my world, I didn't think
Yeah.
anything of it. And also, what I thought was interesting, I was thinking about this when I was reading the book. Like initially growing up, like I'm a product of an interracial home, so my understanding of race as a kid is a lot different than a lot of people. Like I didn't even really have that much of a concept of it. Like
Hmm.
I didn't know the words black and white for a very long time in that
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
In fact,
Hmm.
sidebar. So my first introduction to the concept of someone being black came from an episode of, I do believe, Barney Miller.
Okay.
I must have been like five. I couldn't have been six. So it was either four or five. And I'm watching this rerun, and apparently a black woman who I don't think we ever saw was supposed to be coming and working in the station, and everyone is losing their shit because a black woman is coming. And so in my child mind, I'm picturing like this like black as in color black like
Hmm.
monstrous figure and it's scaring me thinking about this because everyone's scared of this black woman and they never showed her, so I didn't know. Oh, chocolate, which is my
Right.
concept at that point. So yeah, so that was my introduction to what black is. Ha.
Hmm. Yeah.
Anyway, sidebar
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
I never really
That's amazing though.
I never really thought of it as a black film per se. For a while, I was looking at it as that fierce movie that Michael Jackson and Diana Ross and Ted Ross and Lena Horne and Nipsey Russell and who
Hmm.
else was in
Hmm.
that? But like just these are
Yeah.
people that I enjoy and they're all in the same film. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the same thing with you're not a Marvel person, so this ain't going to really hit you the
Well,
way
listen,
it hit me, but
it very well may because also a way that I don't know Marvel, but I do know like I can sometimes know things like because they enter it into the discourse.
okay. So in Endgame,
Hmm.
where it's the big battle scene at the end of Endgame, and all of the women characters are fighting at the same time, and they get introduced. It was like the middle of the scene before I realized that it was the women. I was just like, oh, work, it's her and her and her. I'm like, I'm seeing them as the individual characters and how fierce they are. And
Yeah.
then right when they started running together, I was like, oh shit, it's all the women. Oh shit, this is fierce. And so that was my reaction as opposed to
Hmm.
the reaction at large, which was woke, pandering.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, yeah, actually, one of my graduate students writes about that in his dissertation.
It's like, God forbid we see these characters as like they never interacted before. You
Hmm.
know, like that was the point throughout the rest of the movie. So why is this moment considered lesser than
Yeah.
child? But yeah, so I guess overall what I'm trying to say is even though I am not a fan of the watching the movie The Wiz, I am a fan of the movie The Wiz,
Hmm. Hmm.
if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Now, here we are. We're at the chapter that is near and dear to my heart, The Golden Girls.
Hmm.
Anyone that knows me knows that I have a near unhealthy obsession with the Golden Girls.
Hmm.
Martha
And
would be
listen,
like,
and you
near.
are the person who gave me one of my favorite quotes, which is when you told me that you are a Dorothy with a Sophia Rising.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
accurate. Yeah. I love that show. I've seen every episode. I'm not even going to try and say how many times I've seen the episode
Hmm.
because we have to count the times where like I'll be editing this podcast and it's just on in the
And it's just
background.
on.
Like when
Yeah.
I'm at work, I'll just throw it on Hulu and just like pick a section to start with and just let it go just to have it
Yeah.
on in the background. So like I know that damn show more than many people.
Hmm.
So when you said we're looking for fans of the Golden Girls, me, pick me.
Right. Pick me. Yeah.
I got you.
Hmm.
So talk to me about your interaction with black fans of that show, which I figured there had to be more, but I love how many there were in the book alone.
Yeah. So I am old enough to have watched The Golden Girls when it was initially on television.
Same.
And
Yeah.
and I am fairly certain that I may not have even come to the series until about the third season. And the
Mm.
reason that I say that is because in my brain, my Saturday night went 227
Mm-hmm.
Amen
Mm-hmm.
Golden Girls.
Mm-hmm.
And so there is a way that at least in its initial airing that it made sense that I would be watching it because it was in a time period when, remote controls were not yet like the everyday
Right.
um
We still had to get up
appliance.
and
Yeah,
cross
you
the
still
room and
had to,
change
yeah,
the
you
channel.
still had to get up. And this concept of in television studies, this concept called flow, which is about thinking about the ways different units of television. So, when I say units of television, I mean like 30-minute programs or hour-long programs,
Mm-hmm.
how those units actually fit together and how they fit together within this logic that we just talked about, which is that like we've got to figure out how to encourage you to just sit on your couch all night with the television on NBC.
And not get up and cross the room.
Exactly. And so this concept of flow, and it also, of course, extends to the ads that happen in between segments of each of the individual units.
Mm-hmm.
And so The Golden Girls was just always this weird show in the sense that it didn't necessarily make sense to be on with a bunch of black cast sitcoms, but yet I was watching it because it was.
Right.
And so as a kid watching it in, 87-ish,
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of it as like, oh, like this is a TV show and like it's a great way for me to spend a half an hour.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to when I stopped dancing and actually had time to watch TV, and
Right.
so around 1995 is when I started watching The Golden Girls in reruns on Lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it was simultaneously around the time when I was coming to understand my queer identity. And because so many gay men talk about their love for the series, I immediately just went, oh, like Golden Girls called me because while I wasn't while I wasn't queer, like it could still like call to me as a queer subject.
Mm-hmm.
And so I spent so much time understanding the series as one that would appeal or that for me it was appealing to my gayness and not necessarily my blackness, as if one can separate their identity, but like let's
Right.
roll with it.
Right. Right. Right.
And so it was, I feel like I saw something on Facebook from a black person talking about how much they loved the show. And this was also during the or I shouldn't even say during the pandemic because the pandemic is still going. We've just decided that capitalism is more important.
Thank you.
But in sort of thinking about black people liking it, I was I was just sort of I initially started from a place of curiosity and I was like, do black people really like this show? Like, are there a lot of us who like this show?
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that there were a lot of black folks who watched the show.
Mm-hmm.
And and so I went into it and in some ways asking the question, why in the world would black people still ride for a show that hasn't been on the air for 40 years, that was about four old white ladies that
Mm-hmm.
lived in a house together in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And in a sort of unsophisticated way, that was the question that I led with as I was engaging the Golden Girls and its black fandom.
Right. Yeah, I agree. Like, I didn't even think about that part that it did close out the black sitcom block on
Hmm.
on Saturdays, and you know, and we were watching that block just because we all did,
Hmm.
like and I don't think anyone made a point of it. It's just that's what we did on
Hmm.
Saturday nights. Um, so I think for there's that element of nostalgia. There is that element of for queer folks. I know the idea of chosen family plays a
Hmm.
huge part in it, I'm sure. And then also the shadiness of it,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
one of the best moments of my personal life. This is when I'm still bartending. And someone asked me, "Can I ask a stupid question?" And I just, without missing a beat, better than
Better
anyone I
than anyone
know.
I know.
I
Yep.
was like, I can't. I'm good now.
Yep.
um, yeah, that's the thing that kept me. It's the cleverness of the writing and the it was just funny.
Hmm. I think one of the really interesting things about the show and black folks' engagement with it is that they're obviously, like, as black folks, we know we're watching a bunch of white folks.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
there's also this, and I hate to say it as work because it sounds like it's work, but it's not necessarily, but it's the work of us sort of trying to fit the Golden Girls into a pre-existing pattern that already exists in our brain.
Hmm.
So it is about the way. So one of the things that emerged was this kind of verbal sparring to sort of say to someone, can or to ask someone, can I ask a stupid question? And the response being better than anyone I know, that for many Black folks felt like they were kind of sort of playing a version of the dozens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so what was really fascinating for me was the ways that this very white show, and in some ways, like we don't really even love the episodes where Negroes show up because it's like, just leave us out of this, like, and we like because we can just enjoy the white ladies.
Right, right, right.
And but so like this show with these white ladies on it, like we can figure out how to read it blackly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like don't worry about like you just do what you do. We'll take care of like making it make sense for us. And so that's one of the things that is really was really fascinating to me as I was doing these interviews is figuring out the ways Black folks were making the show there like mean something for them.
Right. Yeah, that's true about when Black folks would show up on the show. It's like, and this is of course a product of the time that the show came out, but it's like whenever someone Black is on the show, we have to let them know that they're Black. The fact that the television is a visual medium and that we can see them is not enough. We have to say, you're Black.
Yeah. 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 I mean, there was also one Black writer on this show, I think for the first I should know this
Yes.
better, but I think she was on for the first three seasons.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
The great Winifred Hervey.
Yes. Who I didn't know anything about until she was a guest on RuPaul's podcast back in the day. He had her on, and I was like, really? Which just added another element to the show that I loved. And, another aspect of the show that is now part of history is when we were trying to battle racism during the pandemic and George Floyd and police brutality and all we wanted was for the cops to stop killing Black people. So what did we do? We took off the episode with Rosalind Cash.
We left mixed blessings.
Yes. It's like, who the fuck asked for that?
And one of my greatest achievements as an academic is that I am quoted in a story about the removal of mixed blessings from Hulu, and I basically say, "Who asked for this?"
Right.
Because it's like we were actually asking for social justice.
Mm-hmm.
We were not like, and it's like none of us sat around going, "Why do Rose and Blanche have on blackface?"
Right.
We were all just like, they got on masks,
Right.
like mud masks.
Right. Yeah, so it's like they took the episode off of Hulu. They took Aunt Jemima off the pancake box, and they painted Black Lives Matter down the street. It's like, talk about painting around the. It's like who the.
But I mean, listen, like to sort of get on a soapbox for a half a second.
Do it.
It's part of the problem of what I would suggest is Black folks' dogged investment in representation
Mm-hmm.
because the response to like we wanted a systemic change to or a systemic response to Black Lives Matter,
Mm-hmm.
but so often what we want is to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
And so because we are so often wanting to be seen, the response was a visibility response. It was about, we are going to remove this episode that is harmful. We are going to paint things so that you can see that we're saying Black Lives Matter. It is why white people en masse wanted to write statements of support for the Black Lives Matter movement when the Black folks were like, you know what y'all could do instead of writing this statement? You could actually just stop fucking killing us. Like that would actually be like that's actually the preferable
And
solution.
it's easier to do.
Yeah.
You ain't got to click nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, and so
It's
like
so
that's
easy.
sort
I'm doing
of
it right now.
right, exactly. Exactly. And so that's kind of in some ways, my and this dovetails into what I said earlier about why I wanted to do a chapter in this book on Black fan practices about the Golden Girls, is because I wanted to see like what do we have to say when what we can't say is anything about representation,
Right.
or
Right.
at least Black representation.
Right. Yeah, and I do. I think that, it's crazy that we were able to see ourselves because, like, okay, going back to the mixed blessings episode, it was like when the sisters came in and every one of them was a fierce Black TV diva, which I appreciated. But
Mm-hmm.
like it was like each of them had their counterpart
Yeah.
with the girls. So it was like
Yep.
that whole thing of like, everyone's got a Rose in their family. Obviously not to
Mm-hmm.
that degree, but everyone's got a little bit of the women in them. And you could point to your friend group and say you're the and I'm the.
Yep. Yep.
Nobody wants to be Rose though. Although I've been told that I am the Rose, and I'm like, hey,
But listen, listen, the thing about Rose is that she was just naive. She was not stupid.
correct,
Yeah.
correct.
And I always used to love when they would
Hmm.
every now and then do an episode where her sort of like fierce competitive streak would come out.
Right. And you'd be like,
Yeah.
I don't want to turn my back on this woman.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
that's the thing. And Betty White played her as just being so pure and honest and open that she just believed everything.
Yeah, yeah.
She wasn't stupid.
Hmm.
I love that. I love that. So, for everyone within the sound of our voice, I do believe you need to get yourself a copy of Fandom For Us by Us, The Pleasures and Practices of Black Audiences. It is a wonderful book. It is a great read. Like, I blew through each chapter in each sitting, basically. And I
That
do.
is lovely to hear.
Yeah, and I appreciate the fact that although it is an academic text, it is not a dry academic text. I did appreciate that because y'all know how y'all can do.
Listen, we do, and listen, I deliberately have stopped trying to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because listen, because it is absolutely an affect.
Mm-hmm.
And listen, one of the things I do in this book is I use Black musicians a lot to, particularly Solange Knowles,
Mm-hmm.
to help me theorize what I'm talking about. I even use the Real Husbands of Hollywood
Ciao.
to talk about Missy Copeland to theorize white famous and black famous.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I also subscribe to what Erica Badu says, which is, what good do your words do if they can't understand you?
This is true.
And so part of what I want to do as an academic is I certainly want to write for people who are intelligent folk,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to write in a way that you don't have to have a PhD to
Right.
understand.
Right. And I do appreciate every now and then having to look up a certain word because I am curious that way, and I'm always trying to expand my vocabulary anyway. But yeah,
Hmm.
it's not an inaccessible book, which I definitely appreciate. And for anyone that is a fan of any of the four subjects or all of the four subjects, it is an interesting read that I think I think is definitely worth reading, and it is going to now leave my bag and go up on our shelf. So yeah, and Alfred Martin Jr., thank you so much for spending some time with me here at the Full Circle table.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great chat.
Yes. If we wanted to get a copy of the book, where should we go?
So you can either go to nyupress.org and purchase it there, or wherever you buy fine books.
Or not find books. I'm sure they're sold in the
Yeah.
same place.
I mean, well, this is true too.
And if we wanted to learn more about you, where would we go?
My website is alfredmartin.com.
Okay. And we will be putting all of that information in the notes of this episode. Alfred, thank you so much. And I have a feeling this is not the last time you and I are going to sit and chat.
Exactly. And thank you for being a friend.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Full Circle is a Never Scared Productions podcast, hosted by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal, produced and edited by Never Scared, executive produced by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Our theme and music is by the Jingleberries. All names, pictures, music, audio, and video clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.